This is the story of why I had to get my butthole removed. Yeah. The story begins when I was 18 years old in the middle of COVID. I started getting some really weird fucking symptoms. Started losing a significant amount of weight. I was 6 feet tall, weighing almost 100 pounds. I was looking in the toilet bowl to see only red. Literally looked like someone hemorrhaged in there. There was quite a bit of blood and it was coming out of my butthole. On top of all that though, I remember describing to my family doctor and to everyone that was taking a look at my butthole that it felt like there was something in it. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where, but it literally felt like I was holding onto a golf ball in my butthole. My family doctor said that I was fine and that this was probably just a case of like really bad hemorrhoids, so he prescribed me some cream, told me to apply that twice daily, and I did that for a couple weeks only to feel worser and weaker, and I wasn't able to get out of bed at this point. Like I was quite literally bedridden. One day I had the genius idea of searching up what my symptoms might be leading to or what kind of illness I had, and my family doctor or the walk-in clinic doctors weren't giving me any, so I took it to Google, and Google literally said immediately, perianal Crohn's. I was like, it's probably not that though. It's probably not that. It's probably just like anal fissures or hemorrhoids or, you know, a really bad case of constipation. I don't fucking know, but it literally cannot be Crohn's. So that same very day that I read that, I said to my mom, listen, things aren't looking good. I'm not feeling good. My intuition is telling me that there is something way worse than hemorrhoids going on inside my butthole, and I think I need to go to the hospital. And that was that. I went to the hospital, my first ER trip during this whole ordeal. The doctor looked at me and said, you have hemorrhoids. And I said, you haven't even looked at my butthole. And he said, turn over. I did. Next thing I know, his finger was up my ass. And he said, yep, just put them back inside you. And I walked out of there like a wounded fucking soldier, gripping onto my butthole for dear life, sobbing my eyes out, wondering what this man had just done and how in the hell did he put my hemorrhoids back up inside me. I remember texting my family group chat and being like, all good guys, hemorrhoids are back in place. I'm gonna be good to go tomorrow. Boy oh boy, was I wrong. That ER doctor maybe was a little bit negligent by doing that without first figuring out what was inside my butthole. Yes, but he did have the brilliant idea of referring me to a colonoscopy clinic to just see what could be going on, you know, some further investigation. And so once again, I spent the next couple weeks at home absolutely bedridden. At this point, I don't think I was eating like one full meal a day. Like my appetite was gone. My energy levels were non-existent. I was basically just waiting and hoping that I would get a call from my family doctor for further testing or something like that. But my mom, my literal lifesaver, called up the colonoscopy clinic that ER doctor had referred me to and was like, hey, my daughter is really fucking unwell. And she said, are there any cancellations by any chance this week? And they called her immediately back and they said, yes, we have one on Monday. Bring her in first thing. So I legitimately did this colonoscopy prep and I was quite literally dying. Nobody believed me. Everybody thought that I was being so fucking dramatic because the peglet was ripping apart my asshole. But I was literally on the toilet on the verge of fainting. And at one point I did in fact black out. So my mom called the ambulance. They took my vitals. I'm pretty sure, my memory's so foggy, but I think I did go into the ER. This is like, I was so delirious, but they did in fact take me to the hospital, and then they saw my chart, they did some blood work. They said that I was all fine and sent me home and said to come back for the colonoscopy that following morning. Well, colonoscopy came around at 8 a.m. When I tell you that I was in that chair, sobbing, hyperventilating, could not breathe for my life, I rushed into that room to find out that I had a fever of 41 degrees, okay? There was something going on inside me. Nobody fucking listened until this doctor looked at me, this GI that I was just meeting for the first time, and said, Paula, you don't have hemorrhoids, Paula, you have Crohn's. And I said, you haven't even looked inside of me. Like, why are people giving me diagnoses without looking inside of me? And he said, your profile, it's everywhere, okay? You have a fever, you have pain in your rectum, blood in your stool, it's Crohn's. And so next thing I know, I woke up in this scope room and they were saying, yep, severe Crohn's disease, you actually have a severe infection in your butthole and we need to admit you right away for surgery. So this was me, little 18-year-old me, being told that I needed surgery for the first time in my life. And they were whisking me away from my family, away from my mother, to this ward up on the freaking 17th floor that I had never been to. And next thing I knew, I was preparing for surgery. When I awoke from the surgery, they told me, not only did you have an infection in your butthole, but it was an abscess the size of a baseball. This pocket of pus was lodged in my butthole. And so they drained it. I woke up feeling great. Once again, texting my family group chat saying, guys, good to go. Literally pick me up in about 30 minutes. I'll pack up. To my parents' surprise, when they arrived, I was not, in fact, doing well. I was, in fact, way worse. I was, again, crawling on the floor, could not walk, was shivering and sweating and just was literally so physically unwell that they were like, something's not right with her. To the nurses, they said, we can't take her home. And they said, I'm sorry, she's already discharged. I don't know what to tell you. So they drove me home. Legitimately 30 minutes after that I stepped foot through my door, I fainted again. Fever spiked to 41 degrees. So there I was, back again in the hospital. And to summarize for you guys, that was the beginning of about a 1 year in and out hospital stay. I spent about like one night here and there at home, another night here and there at home, but the majority of the time I was in fact in the hospital, and I was recovering from surgery after surgery. The reason that I kept on having to have these surgeries was because, well, turns out that I actually had tunnels going from my butthole to this pocket, that baseball that I said, that pocket of abscess, so that every time I would go number 2 through my bum, the bacteria would go through these tunnels, collect in that pocket, infection would form again, and then I would go septic. They were trying everything that they could. They tried ceton bands, they tried EUAs, they tried to drain them. Nothing was working. If anything, I was just getting way worse. One night during those hospital stays, I was quite literally dying. Like, that's when I registered in my brain, okay, this could be it for me. It most definitely will be it for me if no one fucking helps me. And then my surgeon, who had been off all weekend in the middle of my sepsis episode, came into my room and said, Paula, I am so sorry. We have tried everything that we can possibly do to avoid you getting to this point, but we do have to give you an ostomy bag. That was the end. That was the end for me. I thought that if this disease didn't kill me, I would definitely kill myself. So what happened next? I got the ostomy bag. I wanted to live, like, really, really fucking badly, and I wanted to live outside of the hospital and have a life of my own and gain back my independence and be healthy once again, a normal teenage girl, but at the expense of my own mental health, obviously, because dealing with an ostomy was difficult. I dealt with a lot. The next year of my life looked pretty much the same. Even though I had my ostomy, I was doing better, but I was also doing worse. I tried every single biologic that there is for Crohn's disease, which is basically medication to suppress your immune system so that it doesn't attack itself like mine did. And none of them worked. Fast forward to February of 2022, I ended up back in the hospital. They rediscovered more fistulas and more abscesses. And then my doctors came in to deliver the very sad news that I would have to part ways with my butthole because my options were just done. They were exhausted. I made the decision to go ahead with the surgery, and I lost my colon, my rectum, and I no longer have a hole. Sad, but I gained back my whole entire life. Those that have been very close to me in this journey, that have seen me go from my literal deathbed to the highest peak of the mountain now, have noticed how huge this improvement has been. The reason that I share this story isn't for attention or for sympathy. It's for awareness. Because if you begin to see any of these symptoms start in your body, I want you to do yourself a favor and call your family doctor, or any doctor for that matter, and immediately request a colonoscopy. Advocate for yourself, and don't let something like this get to the point of no return. The reason that I lost my butthole is because of Crohn's disease, yes, but it's also because of a lot of negligent doctors that didn't listen to me when I was clearly expressing that something was wrong.
Hi, my name is Lexi, and my best friends tried to kill me. A question I've frequently gotten asked since starting to share my story is, how did my family react? So today I want to talk about that. I was attacked on December 12th, 2015, which is just a few weeks before Christmas and also happened to be just a few weeks after my 16th birthday. December 12th is also my aunt's birthday, and that day she was getting together with some of my family members where they were going to have a cake and sing to her. Later on, she ended up bringing her cake to me in the hospital. So I have 3 siblings. I have 2 younger sisters and 1 older brother. My younger sister, Marissa, who was 8 years old at the time, had a gymnastics meet that day to which she was going to with a friend, and obviously my mom and her friend were accompanying them to the meet. My other sister, who I want to say was 11, maybe 12 at the time, she's 19 now. She was home with my father, and my brother, I'm not really sure where he was, but he was 19 at the time, so probably out with friends. When the news broke that something had happened, my mom immediately called my grandparents and told them that they needed to meet me at the hospital. It was my grandmother, who I call Mimi, and my grandfather, who I call Papa. My brother wanted to go with them, but he was told that I was in too fragile of shape, so he later accompanied my mother to the hospital, but was not allowed in the room. My grandparents were the first people to see me, and my grandfather is unfortunately now passed away, but from conversations I had with him, he said that it was the most devastating experience of his life. So did my grandmother. They said that I was in horrific shape. I could not talk. I was completely incoherent. My grandmother says that my mouth was all foamy, my eyes were going every which direction, and that it was a terrifying image. She is so grateful that my mother did not see me in the beginning of my hospital stay. Police were called while I was still in ambulance, so my grandparents were not allowed to come into the room right away. Initially, it was just doctors and the EMTs who sat with me and were trying to tell me that my attacker was not my friend and that I needed to tell them exactly what happened when the police got there. My grandfather caught on very quickly to the vibe that was happening. He was going to kill someone. Like, the way this story has been explained to me over the years was that they were talking about calling in security because he was threatening the father of the girl when she came to, be picked up. He was telling the police that they absolutely needed to figure out what happened and that girl was a piece of shit liar and hurting his beautiful granddaughter, because he knew, and he was a real one, and my grandfather was a force to be reckoned with. He was a very intimidating man. And my grandmother, too. She was heartbroken that something like this had happened. And as soon as they were allowed in my hospital room, they sat with me and rubbed my head and sang to me and were with me the entire time, even when I wasn't fully aware of their presence. When my mom got to the hospital, I remember she walked in the room and she was fanning herself because she was having a little bit of a hot flash. Sorry. And I remember I did not recognize her. I also didn't recognize my grandparents when they walked in. How I describe this is that it just felt like there was love in the room. I didn't know who they were, but I understood that they were someone of significance to me. I'm making this video because a lot of people have the incorrect idea that my parents weren't there for me and that my grandparents didn't really react, or, if it was my kid, I would have lost my mind. You need to understand that my family was actually extremely supportive and did want to do something about what had happened to me, but they were very confused about the entire situation. They knew that I had been harmed and that I was likely covering for someone, but you couldn't force me to out that information. There was a huge aspect of just being grateful that I was alive within my family. I don't think anyone was really eager to try to find out more because I wasn't willing to give it. And I almost didn't make it to the hospital. I almost didn't make it home for that Christmas or any Christmases after that. And when your child almost dies, you only care that they're alive at the end of the day. You don't really care about what happens next.
If anybody has been following the news who's watching this, you might be aware that there was an Alaska Airlines flight that had an emergency landing yesterday due to part of the plane being ripped off, the fuselage door. And I just wanted to share my story about it because I was on that flight. If I look really tired to you, it's because I absolutely am. I have not slept in 24 hours because my mind is too awake. I still can't believe this even happened to me. But here's what happened from my point of view. Thankfully, I was towards the front of the plane, and where the whole incident happened was in the back of the plane. But about 10 minutes into takeoff, we're not cruising altitude yet. We were all still in full takeoff mode. Seatbelts on, focus, no one was trying to get up or anything, thank goodness. But it was at this time that we all heard a loud bang, really loud bang, a jolt, and a whoosh of air came back at us really quickly. Immediately in the next moment, the oxygen masks came down from the overhead compartment, and a flight attendant didn't even need to get overhead for everybody to immediately start putting them on. We had no idea what had happened yet. My mind is still thinking maybe this is a joke, but my body is put that over my head, tighten the straps, look around for children, see if anybody needs help. You know, we've seen movies. We've had those safety precautions like drilled into us. I very quickly realized that something is terribly wrong. I can like feel it. I know this is no accident. I can just feel the vibe of the plane. There's some commotion going on behind us. We're trying to look over our shoulders. We can't see anything because all the oxygen masks, like wires and everything are in the way. And I am so grateful I was not in the back of the plane where people could potentially be sucked out of the door and their stuff like was getting sucked out. Like anybody who had a phone in their hand, gone immediately. But because we were in the front of the plane, it was worse in the sense that we had no idea what was going on. I truly thought it was the engine. I thought an engine had blown out, a wing had gone down. Like that's how loud and like jolting that like second was, that I thought we were going to nosedive at any second. For a full 15 to 20 minutes, felt like a lifetime. I thought every second that went on, we were going to start nosediving like those planes that went down a few years ago. I just kept thinking, what was this gonna do to my family if I didn't make it, to my mom and my sister? I just was like, my mom's never gonna like recover from this. Like, will they ever get over this if this is like how I go? I tried to just breathe 4 seconds in, breathe 4 seconds out. I was looking out the window, just waiting, just like hoping with every second that we got closer to the ground that we would be okay. The pilots never said anything. Totally fine with that. I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's fine. Just like focus on your job, because the flight attendants did come on. They did like say, keep your masks on, stay in your seats. Something's wrong. The pilots haven't given us any indication of what's going on yet. But soon enough, we could feel the plane turning and we could tell that we were going back, because we hadn't gotten that far away from the airport. So I was assuming we went back. But my mind was also, no surprise, in full panic mode. So I'm also like, where are we? Are we going to emergency land? Do we have time to make it to an airport? I have no idea. We do, as smoothly as possible, start descending, and it is so loud. That is like when I start having full panic all over again, even more than I'm already panicking, because you can really tell something's wrong because the engines are so loud, since there's a hole in the wall, I will later find out. We land back at the Portland airport. We land smoothly, like somehow, and everybody starts clapping. Only time I'm okay with people clapping at the end of a flight. And of course, that's when we start hearing information coming from the back of the plane that like a window's been ripped out, there's a hole in the plane, a lot of different stories, but basically like something came off in the plane. Everyone's okay-ish, we think, but phones were sucked out of their hands. Some things were lost. A kid had to be held down by his mom, so he stayed in a seatbelt or stayed in a seat. This is when like the EMTs and the firefighters come on. Really quickly. Thankfully, we weren't taxiing for that long. They're asking if anybody needs help. They get ushered to the back of the plane where the hole was, and some people got off really quickly, and were clearly the ones closest to the hole, saying that like they almost died. Their phones were sucked out. It was wild. It wasn't until we deboarded, 200 of us are waiting in this customer service line, that the picture of the whole panel that you've seen from the news articles that was gone starts circulating around the line. And I like took a picture of someone's phone, since my seat was so far ahead, and that we're all starting to wonder what happened. We're speculating, was it the emergency door? It looks like it looks more than a window. Or like, could any part of the plane, a whole chunk of it, come off? We, of course, would later learn that it was a fuselage door. I think I'm saying that right, which it's a potential emergency exit door, I've learned. But our plane didn't need a second one, so it's supposed to be sealed up. It's not supposed to be opened during flight as an emergency. It should just completely be sealed up, basically, which didn't happen. Thankfully, I was able to get a flight out the next day. They did organize a whole flight to Ontario last night, for people that needed to get back, but I had a friend in Portland I was staying with, and I was just fine waiting the night, and going back in the morning and trying again and getting on another flight. And I can safely say I am home with my mom, and I'm doing okay. I am so unbelievably grateful for those pilots and those crew members, and honestly everybody on the plane, for staying so calm. Everybody was so silent. You could tell we were just so afraid one breath would like make the plane go down. I'm just gonna end this with a couple really weird things that I don't know are weird coincidences to me. As some friends might be watching this know, I just spent the last year backpacking around the world and took a lot of flights on a lot of different airlines in a lot of different countries. And it is absolutely wild that I came back a few months ago from this year-long trip, and a domestic flight in a well-known airline is when this happened to me. And then one last crazy thing I'm going to share, which I think this is like so weird, but maybe other people don't. Right before my flight, literally in the airport, I had been listening to an audiobook about a biography of a company, and it's a president of the company that's talking about the book, and she's talking about her family members who used to be president of this company. And the last chapter, I can't even make this up, the last chapter I listened to before I was like, all right, that's kind of heavy, I'll save this till I after the flight, was how she was talking about how the president of the company died in a plane crash when he was 41. And you better believe when those oxygen masks came down, the first thing I thought of was, there is no fucking way I just listened to a story of somebody getting a plane crash 10 minutes before I board this flight, I'm going to get in a plane crash. I was like, that's not happening to me.
Here's a story time of why I got fired from my corporate baddie job. I got a little ring, 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 ring. And I'm like, who is this phone number? It's like the big boss. I was like, oh, a bitch is fired. He was super nice about it. Straight to the point, like, hey, bitch, like, you literally suck ass at this job, so don't come back. Return our shit. Like, we're done with you. And I was like, damn, it's okay, dog. I fuck with you. I'll still send you a reference if you want a reference. He still likes me. He just doesn't want me in his building. He basically said I'm a terrible employee, worst employee that there ever was. He said when I do get a vehicle, come and drop their laptop off. Honestly, not really sad about it at all. That job was literally sucking the fucking life out of me, bitch. It felt like once I started doing TikTok, every single time that like something bad would happen at work, they'd be like, poor you, do you want to just like quit and go do TikTok? Like, it got to the point where I literally didn't even talk about TikTok at work. Like, I would not even mention it unless it was like brought up to me. Besides that, I was a recruiter, and all my people literally just like magically fucking got fired at the same time. Like, damn, you guys fucking suck more than me. My workers got fired. I wasn't making the company no money, so they're like, bitch, you're not making us no money, you're fired along with them. Yup, pack your motherfucking bag. And yes, it is true, I did leave Funyuns on my desk, so if Carter's eating those Funyuns right now, we have a big problem. Honestly though, I knew that the job wasn't long-term because commission structure was like really bad. There was like no diversity in there at all. Like, I think there was like 3 people of color. It's like, what the fuck are we doing around here? You don't want that in a company that's like long-term. Like, once I started doing TikTok, they just gave up on me in a sense. Like, gave up on them too, and I would just sit at the fucking couch and edit TikToks, okay, bitch? I got my car stolen like 2 weeks ago. That, TikTok, all my people getting fired just played a role. But I'm not saying that they were the problem, because the bitch was the problem. One day that I remember, like, I'm hopping on Indeed was, I went downstairs to my truck. I went down there to get a pad. Wintertime, it was like in December, and got in, and my car was a fucking mess. So I turned my car on just to like have fucking heat blowing while I'm looking for a fucking pad. I'm digging through my car and shit, and then I go back upstairs. My manager came up to me like, oh, how was your phone call in your car? I'm like, what the fuck do you mean phone call? Because I wasn't on my fucking phone. Like, what? And he's like, oh, so-and-so, like another one of the account managers walked past, and you were just like on your phone, just like chilling in your car. I wanted to pop the fuck off then. Like, just shut the fuck up. I had such bad fucking anxiety going in there every single day. The turnover rate, fucking terrible, bitch. Like, everybody in there is just very weird. Not everybody. Some of them, they're just so fucking out of touch. I remember I was in a meeting one day and the blinds were up. God forbid the sun shine through. Some of the girls were in there like dying because the fucking sun was shining. They just can't see the sunlight or it's gonna burn their skin. Like, but I really liked it and like loved my boss, loved my coworkers, especially like literally everybody on my team. It was like the randoms in there that pissed me the fuck off. Honestly, I have lifelong friends from that job. A lot of the people texting me like, I'm sorry, bitch, I'm next. I'm fired next. I'm like, yeah, you probably are. Look on Indeed, bitch.
Story time, y'all. Story time. So I've been talking to this dude for like a month and like a week straight. Right? So when I say like this man been coming to get me every day, we've been around each other every single fucking day, and like it ain't been no breaks, right? So we chilling, we vibing or whatever. We happen to go out to the bar, go kick it and shit like that, go have us some drinks or whatever. And we went back to his crib. So when we back to his crib, we chilling, we vibing, we played this little game or whatever, and then we end up being super fucking drunk, and y'all know what happened. Like, it's self-explanatory if you've been talking to a motherfucker for a month and a week. It's self-explanatory what the fuck happened. So, more of the story, I'm in his bed, knocked the fuck out. Me and him, we knocked out. When I say we so out, I'm drunk, I'm just knocked out. So, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, y'all, why his bitch come up in the motherfucking house, got the keys to the house and every fucking thing, y'all, come up in the house. So I'm sleep, he sleep, my head wasn't over the covers, but when she turned the light on and she said his name, and I'm like, I know like hell this is not happening to me right now, y'all. Like, I know like the fuck hell this is not happening to me right now. Now I got to sit the fuck up because it's finna get real in this bitch. It's finna get real, y'all. Peep this though. So she turned the light on, she said his name. She trying to pull the cover off of me, but I don't got no bottoms on, I just got my shirt on. She trying to pull the covers off of me. So I put the covers over my head. So we playing tug of war. She trying to pull it, I'm pulling it, pull it, or whatever. So I pulled that bitch so motherfucking hard, her body came on the bed. Yeah, bitch, cause now you finna blow me. So he gets out the bed, he say something like, what is you doing, man? What is you doing? She like, this is what you want to do? This is what you doing? This is what you doing or whatever. So she like, I'm finna stab you. What? So I get up because now I'm still drunk and sleepy and shit. So I get up. I put my pants on. He closed the door. He like, me and you squeaky. He closed the door. So I put my pants on. So he she like, you protected her, you protected her. So y'all, I got my pipe, I got my my protection or whatever. I don't go nowhere without it. But mind y'all, we were so drunk when we came in, I just put my purse on his couch in the living room. So that's where my protection was at, in the fucking purse on the fucking couch in the living room, y'all. While this bitch got me and him in the room, closed door, with knives, like she motherfucking machete knives at that. So hold on, y'all. So she got the fucking knives. He coming in she trying to get in the door or whatever. So I'm like, just let her in the door. Let her in the door. I'm trying to get her to come in the door to go towards him so I can leave out the room and go in the living room towards my protection, because baby, I don't even play like that. So she like, y'all, the lady so funny. She like, you went here with her booty on your mouth. Called that man booty mouth. Fuck you talking shreds ass in his fucking face, on his mouth, baby. What you mean? But this is the fucking killer. The killer is, no, I did not know that this man had a fucking girlfriend. No, I did not. I am a woman before anything, and I was in a 7-year relationship, and I've been single for a whole year, so I focused on myself for that whole year. I was not talking to nobody. I wasn't doing no dealings. It was just work and my motherfucking business. I did not care about no nigga. So for me to open up and let you in my life and give you my personal space, that shit hurts a little bit, and it means like something, but you could have been honest and instead of choosing that decision for me, you could have let me choose that for my motherfucking self. But y'all like, comment, and I was finna say subscribe. But we in the room. We trapped in the room or whatever, because she outside the room with the knives or whatever. She got like 2 long ass knives. How I seen the knives, because the door was cracked before he closed it all the way. I seen her coming out the kitchen. So I'm still putting on my pants or whatever. I'm putting on my pants or whatever. So he tried not to let her in the door. So I'm like, let her in the door or whatever, because I want her to come in the door to go towards him so I can go out there and get to my protection or whatever. So she end up walking away. She like, okay, I'm finna go outside. I'm finna fuck up them cars. Talking about our cars or whatever. So then he hurried up and opened up the door. He wasn't like, he ain't waste no fucking time, y'all. When I say he hurried up and opened up that door, when she said, I'm finna go fuck up them cars, he hurried up and opened up that door. He like, all right, man. And he opened up the door. So she come in the room. She go, like, she look at me. She go towards him, to his face, and put the knife once, like, in his face and one on his, like, his stomach or whatever. And she was like, like she was finna come and shit. So I hurried up, got my coat, I hurried up and left out the room and went like in the living room. Now I gotta put my shoes on, but the shoes that I had on, it's not like just no easy slip on shoes. So I'm putting my shoes on. She come out the room or whatever. She come towards the door, the living room, the front door. She come towards the door, y'all.
My girlfriend kicked a child and I can't view her the same way. I'm 26 male and she's 22 female. My girlfriend and I have been dating for 2 years now. A few days ago, she told me the following. She left to take our dog to the dog park in our apartment complex. When she got there, a boy, who we now know is 8 years old, with a ball pump approached her and asked if he could pet the dog. She let him, then when he took too long, told him that the dog can't poop if she's distracted. The kid didn't respond well to that and followed them into the dog park. He climbed into a tube tunnel in there, and when our dog went over to sniff the tunnel, my girlfriend saw him poking our dog with the pump. She told him not to do that and leashed our dog and took her to the trail that goes through the trees behind our apartment complex that's decently far from the dog park. While she was on the trail letting the dog sniff around, she noticed that the boy was following them, still with the ball pump. She pretended to get on her phone and asked the boy something like, "What's your name?" The police officer on the phone wants to know. The boy got angry and started running at them. My girlfriend put herself between him and our dog, and he stabbed the basketball pump in her leg, and she kicked him, sending him tumbling down the hill by the path. She said that it was automatic, but I don't know if I believe that. The boy ended up spraining his wrist, and his parents called the police. My girlfriend was questioned, but not arrested. The parents want to press charges, and as much as my girlfriend insists that she thinks it'll be fine, I just can't get the idea of her being violent towards a minor out of my mind. I want kids someday, and I thought I knew who I was dating. She injured a child, and I feel so gross that I've been dating someone like this. How does a relationship move forward?